Okay, and we are now recording, and I'm going to share the screen. Just a little addendum. I'm going to be doing both presentations today. Sarah had a conflict in her scheduling, so this is going to be all on me. So I'm looking forward to a good discussion with all you guys. And once again, I did mention this before, please take our survey. I put the link up in the chat when you get a chance. We need the feedback so that we understand what we're doing well. As all of you know who do any kind of virtual programming, feedback is the hardest thing to get, and you really have to sometimes mention it a couple of times.
Hey,
So,
Bruce.
yeah.
I didn't see the link in the chat. I know we could copy it from the screen, but
sure. Let me go ahead and get that up
thank you.
for you one more time. I thought I put it in there, but who knows what's going on. I'm putting it in again. And that's one of the fun parts about being the only person here.
And also, while I'm on the mic,
sure.
Miss Lisa, I believe, is Miss Lisa.
Lisa, thank you. Much appreciated. Okay. And I'm going to copy it twice just to make sure. Okay. And there it is. That's now in the chat. Thank you for pointing that out. For both of them. I'm just a Southern boy at heart, so I often do kind of butcher people's names unintentionally. Okay. Sorry about this. Okay. And as you guys know, this is the Family Reading Program, a facilitated learning circle for early literacy, a guide to virtual programming. Hello, everybody. And this is a facilitated learning circle zone. This is a collaboration of your experiences. And our rules are for participating, please be respectful. Don't speak over one another, switch off all distractions, dogs and cats and little children excluded. Please don't multitask during the learning circle, no matter how big the temptation. And our objectives today are going to be understanding early literacy skill, letter awareness, and the executive function of critical thinking and taking on challenges, and using them for the best practices in our virtual story times, and sharing your early literacy and mind-making skills in virtual story times. And we will have discussion time during this. Okay, just to let you know, we have one more of these, and that will be coming up on December 14th and December 17th at 10 a.m., same bat time, same bat channel. And that will be the last one of these. We are recording these things so that you can share these with your colleagues, which I totally encourage you to do, because early literacy skills and executive function skills are for everyone to be able to help your patrons, and not only that, help yourselves in these things. Okay, so we're going to talk about letter awareness, and I think you guys are going to find this is one of the easier ones to do virtually. As you know, letter knowledge is one of the early literacy skills that researchers say is important for children in order to learn to read. Letter knowledge is different, that the same letter can look different, but have different sounds. So it is one of those things that is important for them to do, because you need letters to understand words and words to understand sentences. So it's a basic foundation. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Okay, let's talk about letter awareness. As you know, one of the big problems with English as a language is that we were invaded by Vikings. And because of that, our alphabet is all messed up. That's why we get a K, which sometimes can sound like a C and other times sound like an N. And one of the things that we have to teach our parents is that it is important for us to understand that some letters have more than one sound, even if they're not vowels, like K, for instance. And I'm sure you might not have you might have this distinction with them in your virtual story times when you're reading a story, and it might be a good idea to point out those differences sometimes. The other thing that we need to concentrate on are vowels. As you know, each of the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, sometimes W, and sometimes Y, have sounds that children need to master really early. And it's important to understand that they have two different distinct sounds. So, you know, the short A and the long A, the A and the A, so that parents can understand it, understand the importance of teaching them what those sounds mean and are. Now, how do you do this virtually, you may ask? Well, we have some good ideas that were floated in our last session, but mostly the big letters like A are, you know, the big letters that you may have lying around. And not only that, if you put letters behind you on your green screen, if you can green screen a bunch of letters behind you, that would be a good way to do it as well. Another thing I would also suggest is that, you know, you have a big chalkboard or whiteboard behind you, if it doesn't get washed out, to put letters up on that as well. And talk to parents about the importance of having letters around the house. One of the things that I thought was very helpful early on in development is helping children spell their own name. That is the first way children learn how to write, and that is the first way they identify letters with sounds. So if you have those, if you tell your parents to get those big stuff they sell at Big Lots, the letters, and spell out the name of the child above their bed, the child will look up and see it, and they'll immediately associate those letters with their name, which will help them develop the other skills. One of the other things that was kind of suggested was the refrigerator magnets, and possibly putting those up. And anything that a child can touch is important in the early years. They are all tactile little feelers. If you notice, they always reach for something, they always try to eat something. If you have the letters there and they can feel the shape, that's good. Now, this one was really cool that I discovered in the last session, was that you can make little boxes for a craft. You can make these little boxes of sand, and you can have them spell out letters using their fingers, which is a very good method, I think, for making letters and getting the touch at the same time and seeing the same kind of discovery that's going on. And there was another one where if you put some kind of liquid into a bag, that if you fill it up with some kind of liquid, they told me what it was, but now I'm skipping on it. You can watch the video. It's on there on our last one. But what you do is you fill a bag up with this liquid, clear liquid, and you have them be able to write out their name in the liquid and trace it out. The other things is other than sand, you can get sprinkles and put it on a plate and tell them how to spell their name or spell a letter with it. They will all go crazy over it. It uses their hands, it uses their fingers. The last part of my talking on this subject is going to be the need for understanding cursive writing for the older ones. As you know, cursive writing is a very important skill, I think, for children to have, and it's kind of slowly dying out because of the digital age. And I would say that be sure to have both letters, like you remember in school where you had the printed A and then the cursive A, the uppercase and lowercase. It's important for them, I think, to learn that there are two writing versions of English, and that the other important part of it is that cursive writing flows, and it's more tactilely, it's more of a tactile artistry kind of thing, which I think improves children's concentration, and also they just feel it better. Of course, they all rebel against it when they get into the middle, like third grade and on. They just want to write everything, print everything, and not use cursive, and cursive is a punishment. This is a way to help stop that from happening, and also for them to maintain a skill that I think will help their brain functions on the cognitive level as well. Okay, so I'm going to open up the mics to this. Let's talk about your guys' with any ideas on how you would do a letter knowledge or an awareness in your virtual programming? Okay, volunteers. um,
I don't really, I haven't really thought to incorporate it into virtual programming as much. I know with our regular programming, we of course just run through the alphabet as one of our typical ways to end the story time, and with the alphabet laid out on the board. So that could be a really simple way just to make use of that background, like you mentioned. I know I normally will do that, and then if I have a puppet, we'll run through the same tune with the puppet. So we'll say the alphabet like a cat or something like that, where we don't actually say the letters, but we just run through the tune again, meowing and mooing and doing weird things. So I think that's a really basic, easy one to incorporate.
Yeah, that's really good. The other thing is some other people in last week suggested having a couple of letters that they will emphasize during their story time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely have storytellers. Lisa's one of them in our system that will sometimes do story times even based on a letter, and they'll do songs and games where they have that letter on the board and they talk about words that start with that letter. There's a whole lot of things you can do just with a letter as a theme, at least from what I've seen them do.
Oh, in the chat, I don't want to butcher the name now. Alyssa said, I make a large letter into a puzzle and put a picture on each piece that starts with the letter. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's very good. I like that. Take note of that. That's a good one. Vanna, I know you guys aren't doing anything yet, but if you were doing it, what would you do with the letter knowledge? Oh, she found it. Oh, and let's say added, not my idea, found it in blog. Share the ideas anyway. So Vanna, do you have any suggestions or ideas? She may be typing. Okay, let's go to our superstar, Jess. She always has good ideas. Oh, Vanna just put up, we have a story time rug with the letters on it. Oh yeah, we had one of those in Miami, and kids go to their favorite letter. How many times is their favorite letter the one that starts with their first name, I wonder? So Jess, do you have any ideas? We have a story time all the time, yes. Okay, Jess may be away from the keyboard. How about you, Matt?
Well, I haven't really thought of it that much, but I think I'd probably try and make like a puppet show where all of like maybe the characters' names start with like the letter of the day, and all of the words are trying to be very emphasis on those letters. But yeah, no, I'm not entirely too sure, and I'm probably gonna have to see how like maybe what was it, Sesame Street does it, because they probably know what they're doing.
Okay. Well, what do you think that would be good?
But you said why?
Yeah, why do you think that's a good approach?
Oh, I don't know if that was a good approach. Yeah, no, I'm all very like semi-new to this. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I should have it more of a subtle thing where it's just all of the names are, kind of aligned to a particular letter, or if I should be more obvious about it, where like I hold up, a letter, like a piece of paper with the letter and say this is an A and all of that.
Yeah. One of the things to mention to the parents is if they can remember having the blocks with the little raised letters on them, that is a good way for the little ones to feel the letter and also to spell out names and show the connections between the letters and sounds and words. And it's generally and they can always put their mouths on it for some reason. So, you know, but it's a good starter thing to mention to the parents. Samantha, do you have any ideas you'd like to share with us? Okay, Samantha says, I like the idea of featuring a letter and trying to find household items that children can find around the house. That starts with the feature of the letter of the week. Very good. Awesome. Yes, and I'm going to add another little helpful thing to maybe encourage your parents. But after I ask Jackie if she's got any ideas.
Hi. So I think of, as far as virtual, I've seen, I have not done it yet, but I have seen where other library staff have taken their felt boards and they have used like sorting of letters. So they'll have 5 different objects and or animals. And if it starts with L, they'll say which one starts with L. Is it lion, or is it cat, or is it dish, or, you know, and then they'll put one up on the board and they'll take one down. So
yeah, don't forget your felt boards. And Jennifer, do you have any ideas? Jennifer writes in chat, I think rhyming words are good when they change just one letter, like dad to mad, fad, etc. Very good. They can see the letter that changes the sound it makes. Hop on Pop by Dr. Seuss taught me to read, so rhyming, definitely rhyming. And let's bring up the other wonderful introduction to our world by the Vikings, the silent letter E. You know, you can't say the word E, but or letter E in silent mode, but you got to explain how those changes occur. So that's a very good one. And Jess is back. Yay, I like to put letter tiles in sensory bottles for story time steam. Ooh, yeah. I also like to hide a certain letter or letters around the library for them to search for. Very good, very good. And it might be a good thing to do virtually as well, is have the letter in the background somewhere for them to hunt for. So that's why Jess is the best. She's been doing this a while. A lot of, yeah, that's really good. The other thing that I would like to help you guys help the parents with on these skills is tell them that they need to like look around for signs that has the letter of the first name of the child. Like when you get to a stop sign and say, oh, look, Susan, S, you know, so they can associate it. Or when they're in the stores, for instance, you know, point out the letters on the adverts and things like that. There are signage around everywhere. And, you know, you need to help parents like with a skill that they can implement all the time is this hunting for letters. And you can make they can make a really good game of it. And I think, you know, it will help the literacy, letter knowledge with these kids a great deal. Thank you all. And I'm gonna share my screen again. And I have gotten a little better at managing these things. Okay, and so we've already discussed why letter knowledge is important, but always ask yourself this question when you're conducting a story time on any of the skills is like, how can I incorporate it into the story time? How can I convey the importance to the parents? What suggestions I can give to the parents about using these early literacy skills? Okay, I'm going to be doing the mind in the making, critical thinking and taking on challenges. And I'm going to be switching to her slides. So one moment while I stop sharing this. And I'm going to share hers. Okay, and okay. Story times and what it takes. This is a mind in the making. These executive function skills are important for cognitive flexibility, working memory, inhibitory control. And the essential skill building happens during story times, which use by exercising the executive functions, bonding and interacting with the kids, and autonomy support, so they can be able to develop these skills on their own. Okay, and the 5 building basics are look, you can let the child learn to use their eyes to look around, taking turns, have a give and go between you and the kids, chat, talk to them about these things, be interested in what they're saying, stretch. This is always a good one to start off your programming. Just because you're doing things virtually does not mean that you're going to be sedentary. It might be a good thing to start off with a stretch, like a reach for the sky kind of thing. But it is always good for you guys to incorporate some kind of physical activity. It helps the brain get going, and it also relaxes everybody. And follow. Young children learn best when you follow their lead. Tune into your child's words and sounds and ideas and movements, and then respond with your own words and actions. So let them guide you and you guide them. Nice give and take. Okay, so now we're going to talk about critical thinking. And the elements of critical thinking are on the screen. And they are identifying a dilemma, a problem, or an issue, determine what you want, the goal of that, come up with alternative solutions, considering how these alternative solutions might work, select a solution to try, and evaluate an outcome. And if the solution isn't working, try something else. Now, this is an important part. Children are little scientists. They're trying to make sense of the world, and they're using processes through play on how to do that. And this is something you might want to talk to the parents about there, is like monitor their play, see what they're doing. They're trying to make sense of the world around them, and they do this through play. No matter if they're building sandcastles or playing with other children, there's some thinking going on, critical thinking skills going on. Okay, and we outsource our understanding of all of the time. And what this is about in critical thinking is that children determine who's the best person to ask for reliable information. And we, as librarians and children's librarians, are on the top of that list because we give them the best information. And it is something to keep in the back of your head, regardless if you're dealing with children or parents or things like that. They will not come to you if they think the information you're giving out is bad or is wrong. So there's something inside of us that when we identify someone who is reliable with the information, we tend to go back to them. I do all the time in our relationships with other adults, and with, more importantly, my wife. Whenever I think I'm wrong, I ask her and disagree with her that I was wrong, but that's beside the point. Okay, and we're going to stop there for a second because I think we need to talk about how we develop these critical thinking skills in children. One of the ways is games, because games set out a challenge and the children tried to figure out how to deal with that. So if you have any virtual programming games, or you make up kits for their kids, make sure that the games are pretty open-ended on, they have a goal, but how they get to those goals. Can any of you guys think of any games in virtual or any critical thinking skills that you think you could pass in your virtual story time? And let's start off with Jess. She might be typing. Oh, no,
I was, but then are you there, Bruce?
Yes, I'm there. And
Yes,
we're talking.
I was typing, but then I goofed up somehow. I like to use Imagination Station, where I put a lot of different things out and have a suggestion of, can you build the tallest tower, or Can you build something for something to sit in? Have a goal in mind, but let them figure out how to get to it with the materials involved.
Cool. And are you able to do that virtually?
Oh, no. This was in the past, I guess.
Okay, okay.
You know, things I would like to, used to do. Virtually, well, I guess I could put things in a kit. I did that when I read Iggy Peck Architect. I did it like a small imagination station thing in a bag for them to take home with pipe cleaners, toilet paper rolls, that type of thing. But it didn't have really a specific goal and goal in mind when I did it.
I hear that.
Yeah, but it probably could be done through an activity packet. Talking about it first at story time and then yeah.
Right, and that brings up a very good point. When your story times are usually using critical thinking skills, and one of the ways that you can interact online is through your story times, through your books that you're reading. If you have an open mind every time you turn the page. They do not know what's coming up. You may know, their parents may guess what might be happening, but for the most part, your story times, you can lead them on somewhat. You can make things happen through imagination alone. And like when you're doing a story time where the character is confronted with an obstacle, say, even if you're doing this virtually and you're not getting any instant feedback, you can always leave a couple of seconds to say, how would you solve this problem? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about that, and the parents can help even guide them in the problem solving, like going, do you think we should lock the door when the bear's coming after us? Should we put out, it's just sort of like getting them to think critically is the goal here. And not only that, it's also how they manage their stress. So anybody think they have a good idea on how to do critical thinking in virtually before we move on?
So I have seen, again, I haven't done it yet, and I think it would go along with these lines, where I've seen someone use a felt and or a magnetic board, and they've had various shapes, and they've told a story through the shapes. So you can like make a house with the shapes or other, things. But as far as virtually, I think that would be good. Of course, you'd still have to guide it, but.
Right. Well, yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of guidance, but I would encourage the guidance, if you could, be somewhat with the parent, including the parents, going, parents, what do you think? Or parents, what would you tell your how would you guide your children's thinking? You just sort of guide it through parents, like help your child. Is your child stuck? Maybe you should talk to them or something. It's just sort of like giving everybody a chance to interact with each other. Like one of the basic skills with the Mind in the Making executive skills is that they are all based on the previous skills. So it's like a nice little staircase. So this one, they can rely on the first two skills that were taught, or the first couple of skills that came before it. But the other part of it is to get that interaction between the kids and the parents, so that the kids will trust the parents' judgment. And sometimes that's a very important part in the critical thinking process, is they mimic what they're doing. And I see we got another response from Melissa, and she says, we attach an activity link to our virtual storytime post because we're limited on time during the video. Yes, unfortunately, time is a factor, which it means that planning your story times out should be done in advance and timed out so that you don't run out of time. And always leave a little bit of time in your virtual story times for the unexpected to happen, because the unexpected often happens. Okay, I'm going to go and share a screen again. Let's see. And we're going to talk about taking on challenges, which is actually fun. A child, this is a quote I found really good. A childhood that has had no stress in it would not prepare you for adulthood. And that's from Megan Gunner. And adults can help children learn to manage their stress and take on challenges by creating supportive, trusting relationships, which is what we were discussing a little bit. Protecting children, and this is something that you got to convey to the parents in the nicest way possible. Protecting children from all stress is neither reasonable nor productive, but you can't say reasonable and productive just saying you can't protect your children from all stress and they need to deal with it in a good manner, in good ways. Okay, children look at adults to see how they're reacting to stressful situations. They are not unaware of our reactions, and I can tell you that for a fact. Kids watch everything you do, or the parents do, and relaying this to the parents that your children are looking at you as the example of how they deal with problems. And you might know when you use the word stress, problems might be better. It depends on the situation and your audience. And we can, as adults, we can be more intentional about how we convey our own feelings of stress so that this can be positive learning experience for children. And I don't disagree with that. I always skip this turn. And like we said, we got some good taking on challenge books. And if you guys could go to teaching books, your database, put in mind in the making, and taking on challenges, and you'll get a list of a lot of good books to use in your story times. And you might even have a couple of them. Also, critical thinking is important. We have books on that. And I love this book when I was recommending books to parents. And I didn't even know I was recommending critical thinking. And it's like the Red Sox and the pajama, you know, just letting them choose which colors and things like that to get ready. It's, I can't remember the name, I'm blanking on the name. And let's also talk about when you build these skills into your program, it's pretty much when you're new at this, you're at a playground, help your child do things. You know, these are suggestions to parents as well. And also don't forget the app, the Vroom app. Always be telling them about that. And I'm going to stop, I think that's it. And I'm going to stop here because I want to talk to you guys about, you know, how important our role is. When we are on a virtual screen doing a story time and there's stress in one of the stories, like the bear is outside, do I open the door, you know, and you make it look really stressful, that's good. But also show the decline of stress when you do turn the page and read, the bear is gone. You know, show them how you deal with stress, that you acknowledge stress, and then how you deal with stress, and then the relief from that stress. These are important things for children to see. And I think, you know, it's important that you relay that information to parents as well. There are some very good games that children can watch parents playing or doing, like putting together puzzles, for one. That's a very stressful one because you're always looking for the piece. And tell the parents, like, when you're putting together the piece and it doesn't fit, how are you reacting to that? You know, or, you know, letting the child trying to put in the wrong piece and going, well, okay, if it's not that piece, which piece can it be? You know, to develop strategies and things like that. And I'm not going to belabor the point too much, but we are the people that they're going to turn to for the rest of their lives for answers. If you're a librarian and you're teaching children, even though you may not be there, they're going to trust other librarians to give them the reliable information. And you're also developing that relationship with the parents. Parents are going to come to you to talk to you like, I don't understand why my child is writing letters backwards, you know, and you're like, maybe we should, it sounds like dyslexia, maybe we should talk to your doctor about that. You know, you are the authority. And having that authority early on, children will feel comfortable coming up and asking you all kinds of questions, or even being able to describe the problems that they're facing or the stresses that they're facing and how to you know, and you show by example how you deal with your stresses, which was hard for me when I was a children's librarian to realize that the children were watching how I was reacting to some things. Because one day I reacted badly, and one of my godmothers came over and said, I know it was a stressful situation, but you got to be aware the kids do watch, and they're going to emulate that reaction, and they may be emulating that reaction for years to come. So you have to be careful. And I was like, oh, you know, it's like, but that's part of the things we're learning. So I'm going to open up the mics here, and let's all talk about how we deal with, how we are going to do this skill in virtual story time. And let's start off with you, Robin.
I don't have an immediate answer. I'm still kind of processing all of it.
No.
Could you come back to me in a minute?
Sure, no problem. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a big question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But
well, yeah, not having an answer is okay, because this will give you time to think about it, and also how you will approach it. That's what, you know, the purpose of this learning circle is to acknowledge when we don't know how we would do something. That's okay. Thinking about it is the important part.
I guess I kind of have been doing it a little bit in my puppet shows, because I will always try and have like a kind of a moral to the story, and always try and make sure that the characters interact between each other in a very constructive and positive way.
Well, let me ask you about the puppet. Do you show the puppet under stress?
I don't know. Kind of, a little bit. There was one time, there was one story where there was a sad ant and a helpful bird, and the bird was trying to figure out a way to help the ant. So that's kind of stressful.
Yeah. So so you're already doing it. You got critical thinking there, and you're having stress. How to deal with stress, because the bird has to figure out how to solve the problem. Yeah. So if you can maybe exaggerate those feelings a little bit in your puppets, you might.
Do that.
Yeah, but you're already. Yeah, it's pretty much we're already doing this. Samantha, are you doing any of those kinds of things? And Samantha may be typing. And let's go ahead. Jess?
Yeah, I like to do the suspense thing in the story times, you know, and then when you turn the page and then it all is well, or, you know, it's all worked out. But I like to pause at those times and let them, you know, let it sink in a little bit. And then, you know, I like to do that. I think that's a good one. Yeah. And then I think taking turns can be stressful. Like when, of course, obviously not virtually, but taking turns, I think, can be stressful for kids too, especially if they have to wait and it's something they really want, you know, so. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it all along, right?
All along without even, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, without knowing it. That's the scary part about this. We've all been brainwashed since we were little kids and didn't know it. Vanna, do you have anything to add? Not at this time. This is good to hear, though. Oh, okay. And Jackie, do you know any way you might be doing virtual story times, teaching these skills?
So what I can think of, I guess, is being quite intentional with the book that you choose to read that may have lots of emotions that you can express. And far as visually, obviously, you can do that by recording yourself reading the book, but then also I really like what I've seen with library staff using a book, but then also I keep going back to the felt board. It's just kind of my thing.
Mhm.
But then also using, you know, as far as emotions, you could put a happy face or a sad face or something to reflect that.
That might be good. Yeah, I like that. Samantha just added, not knowingly, but pointing out stressful parts of the book and emphasizing the release of tensions is something that I generally do. Good. Now, you guys know because of the pandemic, stress levels that are an all-time high. So teaching children how to deal with those stress levels might be good, and conveying it to the parents that they need to show children how to deal with that kind of stress, because we're in a big stress ball right now because Thanksgiving was stressful. I'm sure anybody watching us cook, for instance, knows what stress we're talking about. You know, but the children are also watching their parents cook, and you know the stress that they're under and how we handle it, which I have to do a much better job. I'm more like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen than Julia Child. So, you know, has anyone looked at book A COVID Christmas? It just happened to see it on. Wow, that's new. No. COVID Christmas. Everybody, there's a nice little homework assignment for the next week or so. See what you can find out about that. That sounds really good. Awesome. Thank you, Jess. Anybody read it? Nope. Jennifer, have you read it?
No, I haven't read it. I was typing a response.
Yeah, so everybody write that down. This might be a good one, A COVID Christmas. And oh, there it is. And Vanna put in the link in chat. I will definitely, thank you, Vanna. And okay, I'm going to share the screen real quickly, just, okay. And we've done discussion time. I want to give you some things to think about for next time. And it's going to be a twofer for our very last of these sessions, vocabulary and narrative skills for your early literacy skills, and self-directed engaged learning goal setting. And that's going to be for the mind in the making executive functioning skills. Please take our survey. And this is for the people who may be viewing this on YouTube. If you could write that in, I hope it's big enough for you to see, but it's https:// our stroke, whichever, nsla-nv.libwizard.com/FRP. And I really hope that you guys can do that. I'm going to leave that up for a second. I want to also add that there is a very good skill for the critical thinking and for the stress skills. There's a very good game that parents can play, which if you tell them this as a means to help their children learn how to deal with stress through watching them, Jenga. Jenga involves critical thinking skills, and it also is stress management. And if you tell the parents that if you have a Jenga set, or even if the library checks out those games, which I'm not sure they're doing right at the moment, you know, this is a very good one for your kids to watch so that they can learn how to do critical thinking and how they can learn how to deal with stress, because it is a very, very stress intense game. You know, and watching and tell parents like how you react to the stress, the kids will emulate and will take note of. And this is one of those things that I think will benefit. And till then, thank you for attending. If you have any further questions or need information, you can contact me. My name's Bruce Douglas, and I can talk to you about the early literacy and mind in the making skills somewhat, but Sarah Schrick of the Children's Cabinet is probably better because that's what she does. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a moment. I saw something pop up in the chat. Can you put up the things back up for a time? Yes, I can, and I will do that right now. Thank you. Things to Oh, sorry, too many cute dachshunds. So just a quick question to you guys. Are you guys looking forward to Christmas? Anyone?
Yeah.
Sure. Good answer. Yeah, well, I'm got to get a Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas. So help me come up with a good way to convince my parents to get it. Okay. Let's see if I can see my chat screen. Oops, sorry. Okay. But so anyway, okay, I think I got it up there long enough, maybe, hopefully. But yes, says, listen, all right. My sister walked in and said no. What? No. A little, yeah, if I could become if anybody can find a good YouTube video on wrapping presents, share them with your colleagues. They will love you forever. Share them with us. We will gladly include that into our little segments, and maybe even share it with your parents, because a lot of them who have the first time having babies, wrapping presents might not be a naturally born skill. But for the most part, we are probably, let me stop the recording because